Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the West Yorkshire Football Show. I'm Chris Bell. I'd like to say I'm joined, as ever, on our Monday night roundup by Lewis Sale, Gareth Walker, and Stephen Downs. How are we all doing, gents? We all well?
Yeah, good.
Superb yourself?
Yes, very well, mate. Very well. An interesting weekend, I think, across the board. Obviously, with being the international break, the focus very much on League Two and the non-league scene. Lou, and obviously for the non-league scene, a busy weekend, and obviously the FA Cup and in the non-league circles, the cup story for us is very much Guiseley.
100% Guiseley. Really good to see them get a really good run. Obviously faced Scunthorpe United in the previous round. Probably really unexpected to win that game and then to go and beat the Iron and then get a really tough tie against Kidderminster Harriers, and then Mark Bauer and Danny Boschel have got history there at Agborough in years gone by and replicate it again at the weekend. Will Longbottom scoring a late goal for Guiseley, and I mean, phenomenal story. We've obviously seen a draw just now, and we'll get reaction with that. But yeah, it's a great story for Guiseley, and it's about time that both Bowers and Bosch had a good cup run, because you haven't been too lucky in years gone by. Hopefully, all that luck has been saved up for this year.
Yeah, it seems that way. Gaz, obviously, it was league batters for yourself and for Bradford City, and a good win on the road.
Yeah, much needed, really, Chris. We hadn't won away since the first game of the season when we beat MK Dons, which is unusual for City because last couple of years the away performances have been better than the home ones, but we've been pretty steady at home and struggled away so far. So yeah, that was important. A steady away performance, not fantastic, but we got the job done. And that man Andy Cook, I'm sure we'll talk about him later, but back in the goals again and continues doing what he does best.
We will indeed talk about him later. And Stephen Downs is here. You had a stress-free weekend, didn't you, with Huddersfield Town not playing over the weekend? But of course, they have been drawn in the FA Cup first round. So, I mean, how did that feel for a start? Downsy, Huddersfield Town in the FA Cup first round draw. You haven't seen that for donkey's years.
No, well, I haven't. But first of all, yeah, I thought I'd have a clean shave for the show tonight. Start and reset, international break, get rid of the clutter and start again. But all I've
You're
got
the
to say
pin-up,
is,
mate. You're the pin-up, the West Yorkshire Football Show, and it's got the trim done and everything, hasn't it?
Jesus Christ, if I'm the pin-up, then I'm really sorry, everybody, for watching. All 236 people right now. I just want to point out that the Town are going to win the cup and bring it back to Huddersfield. So there we go, boys. At the end of the show, thanks very much for watching. Huddersfield Town are FA Cup champions of 2024-25. Thank you very much.
If I'm going to be careful what I say, but if Huddersfield Town win the FA Cup, it'll be a bloody miracle. Delighted to say,
you should have said there, if Huddersfield Town win the FA Cup, Chris will get a tattoo of the Town badge on his back.
No, I won't. This is why I stopped where I did. Put it this way: if you are to win the FA Cup down, so you're going to need some FA Cup heroes, and that is exactly what Guiseley had at the weekend. And I'd like to say, joining us here on the West Yorkshire Football Show is defender and former Bradford Park Avenue defender as well, Lucas Dunster. Thanks for joining us, Lucas.
Thank you very much. How are you doing, guys? All right?
All good, thank you. I mean, what a weekend it must have been for you. Obviously, the FA Cup, the prestige and the history of it across the board. But to go for a giant killing that fourth qualifying round and put you into the hat for tonight's draw.
100%. It was crazy. I mean, it's one of those things I've said to my partner now, like in football now, especially in my career, I'll never know how far I'm going to get in the FA Cup. So you just got to cherish these kind of moments because we're in the first round proper now. Obviously, we're just seeing the draw now. But yeah, the games we played prior, we've had some tough draws, obviously coming up against Scunny and then Kidderminster, and they had some unbelievably good football inside. So yeah, we pulled it out of the hat. If any of you seen the game or heard anything, you'll know it were like a bit of a smash and grab. Well, it were definitely a smash and grab. But it's the magic of the FA Cup, isn't it?
Yeah.
Morning, Lucas. Stephen Idjaway, your thoughts?
What? Say that again.
Stephen Idjaway, first round. What you thinking?
Honestly, I can't even tell you. I was pacing around my kitchen. I was more nervous then than I was when I was finding out whether I was going to get a pro contract. And that I was honestly like, weird one. I don't really know too much about Stevenage, but then I've looked it up. Like a 13th in League One. They beat some good teams. They beat the Wrexhams. They beat Barnsley.
The rubbish, mate. The rubbish. Don't worry about it. You'll be right. Town have beaten them this season, and we've been on a crap run, so you'll be fine.
One of my mates who plays for Blackpool, he messaged me straight away. He said, "Put your helmet on because they just hoof it." So I don't really know if they play much football or not. But they've
they don't.
As long as they pick up results, you know what I mean? So, it's one of them. I think they get about 4,000 fans, average attendance in league anyway. So, I don't know about the cup, but yeah, do you know what I mean? Any draw at this stage is a big draw, and it's good for the club.
How exciting is it for you, Lucas, for the likes of yourselves and the rest of the guys that you've made it to that first round draw? Obviously, you've aspired in your previous years at Leeds and Hull, and you finally got there, haven't you, now, and done it?
Yeah, 100%. It's one of those things like you drop down from like 23s football and professional football, and then you go into like men's football and non-league football, and it's just so different. And you know what? Like, you'll know, Lou, when we were at Park Avenue, it were tricky times. I mean, it was a rocky time. I had 3 years there, and every year was just fighting for survival, pretty much. So, on a personal level, on the flip side, now it's kind of nice to be feeling that upwards trajectory and like winning and getting results and going places. And to be fair, I commented something on BPA the other day because they're winning. They won 4 in a row now.
Yeah, so far, yeah.
Yeah, it's good to see that. But no, I'm delighted. The boys are absolutely buzzing. Do you know what I mean? The group chat's going off and everyone's just ready for the game. So yeah, it's a good time to be a Guiseley player and a Guiseley fan.
And obviously for yourself, Lucas, I remember watching you in your trial game at Camping away in a pre-season friendly when you're trying to earn yourself a deal at Avenue. You've obviously come a long way now and got yourself established. You've got managers and coaches who trust you. What does that feel like as a player at this level?
Yeah, it's really good. I mean, I've kind of come to the realization now that big saying that I've kind of come into is like, you can't burn your bridges, especially in non-league football. And I feel like it comes around so much now when you come in contact with certain managers and then they take a liking to you and then you end up just going places. And we all know how non-league football is. You can just bounce around clubs for fun. Luckily, I've had quite a bit of stability, to be fair. But for me, my time at Park Avenue was perfect. It set me up perfectly. Still a great club, and I couldn't have changed anything when I was there. I absolutely loved it. But I really kind of got to know how about non-league football now. So yeah, Bowles and Bosch, like you said, they're the managers that kind of stuck by me and they like me as a player. So they've obviously brought me to Guiseley. So I got to credit them. So
going in, time at Guiseley so far, Lucas. How's it going?
Loving it, proper loving it. I've had probably one of my best seasons in terms of winning games and getting results. It's quite nice. I feel like I'm getting up the pitch quite a little bit more. Obviously, you'll know, like, I'm just a defender. Like, I just defend my right back, but I'd say I'm more of like a full back than a wing back. I just love defending. That's my biggest thing. I love that 1v1 challenge against opposing wingers. So I'm thriving there, and I'm just trying to get more assists and goals to my name. I'm not really a bagsman. I get so nervous. Anyway, I get near the box, I get so nervous. But no, we're doing really well. I think we're fourth in the league, fifth in the league. Obviously doing really well in the FA Cup. So yeah, we just got to stick with it. There's some big hitters in our league, though. It'll be tough for us to keep up with, like Macclesfield. We've got a crazy budget. Workshop, a really good non-league team. So we just got to stick with it. We've got a crazy amount of injuries at the minute, like honestly beyond belief. Like most of our big earners, I'd say, are out injured, literally all of them. So yeah, just got to stick with it. But it's good. I'm really enjoying it on a personal level. It does affect you a little bit away from football, and like I'm just a lot happier. So it's good.
Good, man. And obviously, like I say, you've a few injuries, but it must be really rewarding, especially going away at Kidderminster with a bit of an injury hit squad to go there and do that, smash and grab, like you say, and just to be in front of the fans and give them some memories, as well as you guys in that group chat, must be really fulfilling as a player.
100%. I feel like Guiseley's, I'm glad I've come to Guiseley because it's almost the same kind of club as Park Avenue, where it's just really tight knit. It's really family. You speak to all the fans, you know them all by name. You speak to them after the games. It's really, really good. And like the fans deserve it more than we do as well, because loads of them came. I think it was like 100 and something travelled. So it's really good. Like the injuries we've got, like I said, are crazy. We've got two of our best attackers out. One's with an ACL injury all season. One's with a groin injury. I don't know if you know, I didn't play the Kidderminster game. I played the Scunthorpe game. That I played really well there, and then I broke my ankle. So bit of a nightmare. I'm absolutely gutted. But yeah, I missed the Kiddie game, and I'll probably miss this next round against Stevenage, which is like heartbreaking. Like I can't believe it. But I've just said to the lads, you got to win next round, and then I'll just creep into the team like whenever we're playing the next round, and just take all credit for it.
Don't worry, mate. You'll be there with Huddersfield Town playing us in the final. I've already decided that we're. So don't, mate. We'll be there together. We'll interview you on the pitch afterwards.
I've got someone that I work for who's a Huddersfield fan, and I messaged him straight away. I was like, I'm gutted we're not playing you. But on the flip side, we played him in pre-season and we lost 7 goals.
Mate.
So
But it's all right.
Play him again.
Don't worry, it's all right. We've got worse since then, so it's fine.
I'm not quite sure exactly what Downs has been drinking this evening, to be honest. But he's come up with some great ideas, at least. I mean, obviously for Guiseley, I think the furthest they've got to my memory is the second round. I was, to be fair, there when they beat Accrington in the first round and then lost at Mansfield under Paul Cox, and then when they beat Cambridge and then had Fleetwood on the telly. You know, it's an opportunity if they can pull off that shock result, as it would be seen at Stevenage, to at least equal that record of getting to the second round.
Yeah, 100%. I was asking somebody this the other day, like, what is the furthest they've got? And they told me exactly that. I think not long ago, when we've got a centre half called Levy, he played when I think they got to the first round against Wimbledon not long ago, and they lost 1-0. But it's just like it's crazy, and I think for us as a club, financially, obviously, it's a big hit. Do you know what I mean? Every non-league team needs the money, and it'll help us going forward. But it's just a big statement as well. And Bowles deserves it more than anyone. When we were watching the draw, they pulled out Bradford City, and then the guys who were 63, and they said 6, and I thought, oh my god, surely not. Like, and obviously it wasn't. But I can only imagine what I was thinking.
Didn't you beat us in pre-season as well?
We did beat you. Yeah.
Fingers crossed.
I wanted you, but I didn't want Huddersfield.
On a genuinely serious note, though, obviously, you know, it's pretty devastating, like you say, if you're not going to be able to play in the fixture. But I suppose for you guys, it's just about going and enjoying the experience. Like, there's no pressure at all, you know, and that sort of that might help you because you'll go there with no expectations, over pressures on Stevenage, and you know, I've seen, all right, we beat you 7-0, but you know, that day I know that it was a very changed team, and me and Lou, and when Lou's come on here and talked about guys, like, you play some really decent football, you know, you get the ball on the floor and play some good stuff, and I don't see why you can't go there and really, you know, have a go at them. Honestly, mate, they are nothing special. I'm registered blind, but I can see that they're not special. You
are determined to make us some enemies in Stevenage tonight, aren't you, Dan?
I'm not bothered. I want Lucas and his teammates to go and win.
I've been to Stevenage away. There's some decent people in their media team, but
I'm not saying that
I know
they're not.
Actually, on this point though, because I was just thinking, you would usually look at this actually and think, if you could get a replay and take it back to Nethermore. But of course, this is going to be the first season where that isn't a possibility now in the first round. So what you like at penalties?
I didn't even know that. I swear to God, one of the boys just put in the chat, we'll take it to a replay. And I was like, yes.
I think I'm right in thinking, Lou, correct me if I'm wrong, but this is the first season.
Because it came in not long ago, didn't it? I'm going to have to tell the boys now. They're going to be gutted.
You'll have to get on there with your crutch.
I know. But yeah, no. So it's one of them that, like you said, I can't speak on how the game's going to be, but it's probably going to be one of them. If we are going to go and get a result, it'll probably be a snatch and grab. But there's ways you can go about it. You don't always have to just camp in. I mean, we are quite a good counter-attacking team. I don't know if you know some of the players that we've got. We've got John Lafudu, who is genuinely the fastest man I've ever seen alive. He's so fast, which he settled the goal for us against Kidderminster, just literally sprinted down the line. So we've got players like that, and don't get me wrong, like, League One footballers are going to be better than us on the pitch. Technically, they're there for a reason, but at the end of the day, do you know what I mean? Anyone can put anyone through. Anyone can put it through anyone's legs. Anyone can put it top corner. Like, we've all seen how it is. I think was it Maidstone who went on a crazy run last year?
Yeah. It's the beauty of cup football, isn't it?
100%. And like you said, I think because the pressure's on teams like that, especially when fans can get on your back a little bit. If they haven't scored by like 60 minutes or something, you kind of favour the lower team because their fans are kind of rushing them and stuff goes wrong, and it's just an exciting draw, isn't it? There's like you said, there's no pressure on us at all, so we're literally all just gonna be going. Good experience for us, playing in a big stadium, big fans,
and they won't try and out football you either.
No.
It'll just be just get your centre halves heading the ball all week. Because Alex Ravel's disciple of Steve Evans, so that's what you'll be doing.
I'm gonna have to watch some YouTube videos.
What's Tyrese Simpson, mate? You'll be fine. Don't panic.
You know what? Then, even if I wasn't injured, I probably won't get on the pitch because I'm only about 5'5". So,
mate, I wasn't going to say that. I'm glad you said that, Luke.
You're right, mate. You're right, Max. It don't matter.
No, it doesn't matter. Go on in, Lucas, just before you go, mate, because I know you'll obviously can leave you for the rest of the evening. Final thoughts on the rest of the season with Guiseley. Obviously, you've built a really good squad there, 2 really good people in charge. Obviously, you've got a decent run of form. How are you thinking the rest of the season can hopefully pan out? Are you pushing playoffs, pushing promotion? Does a cut run potentially help you? Does it hinder you? All that kind of stuff.
I think I'll start on that last point. I don't think the cup run will hinder us because I think more than anything, it's brought us closer together. And I was speaking about this the other day. We are quite. We've not kept loads of the players that Guiseley had last year. So it's kind of a new team. We've all just come together. So you need something like this to kind of gel you straight away because there's no waiting around in this league. You can't wait 10 games and then finally kick on because you're just going to slowly drift down the table. So it's a tough one. We started the season, we said 100% we want to get automatic promotion. It's still the aim, but realistically, we just know we want to sit comfortably in that playoff position as high up as we can. If we can challenge with the teams of Macclesfield and Worksop, then happy days and we'll be up there. But it's tough. If we've got Will Longbottom and he's honestly scoring for fun at the minute. You'll know, Lou, like his free kicks this season are crazy. He's put one every single corner. So yeah, we've got a good team and we've got a really fit team as well. So I don't think like playing the extra FA Cup game will hinder us in any way in terms of injuries and stuff. I know we've got a lot, but we've got a really quite young, fit team who are quite robust. So yeah, it's just exciting. Hopefully we go up this year. We've got a lot of players at this level who are National League North players. So yeah, we can more than capable.
How much would you think the experience of obviously, Mark Bauer as well as anyone, but in particular for him, the fact that he's already got that promotion at Guiseley previously in his career as well, obviously taking up to the National League?
I think it helps, doesn't it? I think it helps. He's already got that on his CV. The fans know it, and he's got that behind him. So I also think it helps that because we're having this FA Cup run, not that it takes away from the pressure of the league, but from his perspective and our perspective, obviously we want to get promoted, and that is, I'd say, the ultimate goal. Unless we can win at Wembley, do you know what I mean? Like 12 games down the line. But I think it kind of helps that we are having this FA Cup run because then, no matter how the season goes, we're going to look back on it and think, do you know what I mean? You know what? We've accomplished something and we have come out of the other end and got something good from it. So kind of takes that pressure off. But the boys know, like, it is tough because after we had that win against Kiddie on Saturday, we're now going to Lancaster tomorrow. And you just kind of got to pull yourself back down to reality and think, you know what? Like, we've got to go to this horrible place. And they are men as well.
We are losing friends all over Stevenage, now Lancaster.
I've got a vendetta against them because one of them just like stomped on my shin at one point. So ever since that day, I just hate them.
Yeah. Nice.
I went to uni in Lancaster. It's a beautiful city.
This is the sort of content we love. Lucas, you can be a regular guest if you want. Peeing everybody. But if guys like are struggling for players, genuinely, me and Lou have put an appearance in this season so far. At the
Horsefall as well.
At the Horsefall. So
I saw you there.
I'm sure there'll be some video footage that you can pass on to Bowers if you need us. You know what I mean?
Definitely.
I mean, Downsy was on penalty duty that day. To be fair to him, and he's blind. He's still stuck in the top corners to give him credit. So
I'm just not fast, Lucas. I'm just not pacey. Lou's got the pace.
Clinical though, poacher. That's all you need, is poacher.
I've got a good record in 5-a-side this year.
I mean, with all the best of respect, Downsy, if Mark Bauer's struggling for players and he turns to you, then Guiseley really have got problems this season.
Whoa! All right. But no, best of luck, Lucas. Honestly, best of luck. I really hope that the guys get through and you get another big tie. Something like working away or something, and then we eventually end up at the final together. Magical scenes in February or whenever the cup finals out.
February.
Well, whenever it's
all the best.
I was going to say thanks for stepping in, Lucas.
As well.
Appreciate it. Have a good one, guys.
Good luck,
Thanks
mate.
Cheers, mate. Best of luck.
Catch you, Lucas. Cheers, buddy.
That's Bradford Park, former Bradford Park Avenue defender, now Guiseley defender Lucas Dunstan. Delighted to have him on the show. And look, I mean, I'm not quite sure what you've been on tonight, Downsy, but if Huddersfield and if Guiseley can have a great cup run, like I think at this stage for Guiseley, the way it's going, like they as you said, there's no pressure on them to go to Stevenage. It will be a tough game, but just the fact that actually it won't go to replay, but there will be a penalty shootout if they can hold it out. Does that give them more of a chance, Glue? Gaz, Steve, what do you reckon?
I think it does. I mean, the only thing that I would say to, and I know we've had this chat before, haven't we, with the replays, and I do think it's sometimes nice when the sort of smaller club in this scenario does get the replay and gets to take it back. But I think it can work both ways, Kai. Look, if they perform, with what we've know that how they can perform, and Stevenage don't, which we know how they can't sometimes. I don't see why they couldn't go beat Stevenage. I honestly, and fair enough, if it goes to penalties and they do it on penalty, who cares? They're into the next round, and that can. I don't know what the prize money equates to at this stage of the competition, Lou, but you might have more of an idea. But I tell you what, it's going to be a good chunk of money for Guiseley, isn't it, if they do get through?
Yeah, I mean, I think you're talking tens of thousands now. To be honest, at this stage, it's massive for any club, isn't it? And I think, especially the guys at Guiseley, where they're expected to do well in the league, but to also go on a cup run like this, it's that old thing, isn't it, where winning is a good habit, and it seems to be that case at Guiseley. And to get Stevenage away, they'd have probably, let's be honest, be going, all right, fair enough, but they'll probably be thinking, if only we had them at home, or we'd have had a Bradford City or a Huddersfield or whatever. But actually, probably in hindsight, when I look at this, we'll probably think, you know what? Let's, like you said, Downs. I think you were saying it really, really rationally earlier. Is that why can't we just go and have a bit of fun, enjoy the day? All the pressure's on Stevenage. We're not the biggest team in terms of the competition, but we're a good, solid League One outfit, and we're not the same team as what they were last year. So there's everything in Guiseley's perspective where they can just go there and see what they can do. And listen, if Guiseley can hold them, and knowing the way that Bowers and Bosch set up their teams are really stubborn, really disciplined, they're going to be hard to break down. If Stevenage just gets slightly frustrated and Guiseley have got the potential up front, as we've seen in recent weeks, to go and snatch a winner, there's nothing to say Guiseley can't do it.
They're not a footballing team, Stevenage. They're not. So they're not going to surprise them, Lou.
Doesn't mean they can't get results though. Down that they like.
No.
Just because they're a direct physical side does not mean that it's going to be any easier for guys to go there.
No, I know that. But what I'm saying is, they're not going to get any surprises. They're definitely not going to get any surprises. They play one way, Stevenage, and it either works or it don't work for them on the day. That's what I'm saying. They'll be able to do the homework, and they'll know where the threats are going to be. And I don't, Stevenage aren't going to suddenly turn into a team that wants to play it out from the back. That's not going to happen. But it has done with other football league clubs like MK Dons and people like that. They can turn into to whatever they want to be. Walsall are doing it right now, aren't they? They're playing some good stuff. But Stevenage won't give them any surprises. I'm really excited for the tie. I think it's going to... I hope they get through. It'd be brilliant if they got through for everybody at the club.
It's like you were saying, isn't it? It's like because the replay's taken out of it, it makes it literally it is on that one day, and we all know that on one day anything can happen. You get it to penalties, and it's an absolute lottery, isn't it? Whereas, if daft as it sounds, I know you get the financial benefits and you get the possibility of bringing them back home to Nethermore in the second game, etc., etc. But then you've got to replicate what you did on the first day. Makes it a little bit tougher. One game, one day, goes to penalties. It's anybody's game.
Agree.
Yeah. Let's turn our attention then to a couple of the topics that came out of that FA Cup first round draw. Then obviously, Bradford City, Gaz, Aldershot Town at home of the National League, kind of middling around the National League at the moment in the table. I guess the best way of looking at it for you and from a City perspective, it's a home tie.
Yeah, that's what I said to you, Nick, before we went online. If you're not going to get anybody, you're not going to get a local derby, or you're not going to get something that you see as glamorous or whatever, you want a home game. It gives you the best chance of getting through to the next round. And not having to travel in between league games. So yeah, it's a while since we played Aldershot. I know Stuart McCall said them out that the last time he'd done the draw, he'd drawn us against Aldershot then, but that was away. So obviously we'd much rather be at home than away. I can't remember what the result was in that game, actually. I think he said it was 9 years ago. It's going back a while, definitely.
What a strange coincidence that was, by the way. What are the chances of Stuart McCall pulling the same tie, but just in the reverse home side, like 9 years on?
Yeah, bit of a coincidence. Like I say, I've only been to Aldershot once, and that was in the league, and we lost. So I'm quite glad that it's at home. I'm more likely to go with it being at home. Like I said, all I can say is a home draw gives you a better chance of getting through to the next round on paper. So I don't think it'll be an easy game. What did you say? The mid-table in the conference.
18th currently in the conference, but they are kind of like 4 points off being 10th. So it's a tight league, and they're a decent footballing side that has to be said under Tommy Witherington. I've got to admit, from what I've seen of them over the last couple of seasons.
Tommy Witherington, ex-Southampton midfielder, am I right?
I mean, that's before my time, Gaz. I'm going to rely on your history there, mate.
I'll double check that, but that's where I know the name from.
Yeah, I think you're right, Gaz. I remember Tommy as well from his time at Kings Lynn, who played very, very good possession-based football as well. So I know he has his lad with him as well. He's took him around wherever he's been. So I think you're right, yeah. Really tidy midfielder in his day, wasn't he?
Especially like the Aldershot fans for that.
What was the score 9 years ago? I know it has no bearing on this game, but...
As I said, I don't know off the top of my head.
You know what? I was there for the game at Valley Parade.
I missed that, Gaz.
You were there for what? Sorry.
I was there when you played Aldershot at Valley Parade in a game. I think it was 1-1, I think, or something. And you won on penalties in the FA Cup, in a replay, I think, in first round.
Did it go to a replay then? It must have done.
6 years ago, yeah, it went to a replay. It was absolutely bitter cold and chucking it down. I remember it. I think Lewis O'Brien played for you then as well, if I remember rightly.
Did it? Oh, right. Yeah, it would have been about 6 years ago, Luke.
I mean,
the game 9 years ago, we drew 0-0 at Aldershot and took them to a replay, which we won 2-0 at Valley Parade. But we also played them in the FA Cup, apparently, 6 years ago.
Yeah, that's the one that Lewis.
That's the one that you're on about, Lou. Which we drew 1-1 at their place and then drew 1-1 at Valley Parade and beat them on pens.
Yeah, that's when I was
there.
We
played them twice in the FA Cup in the last 10 years. Gone through both times, so hopefully it's not third time lucky for Aldershot this time.
Well, I mean, as Ian's just pointing out, they lost Laurent Talage to Port Vale in the summer. It was a big loss for them. But I say that they're still decent football inside. They were sniffing around. In fact, they missed out on the playoffs, depending on how you look at it, on the Gateshead Stadium situation. Had the National League have decided that they were going to give it to the next place team, it would have been Aldershot. So they had a good year last year, and I'll say it's early days still in National League terms.
And
for Huddersfield,
sorry, I was just going to say as well, City got some really good publicity out of that today as well. With the draw being held at Valley Parade, with the history that goes with the 1911. In fact, Irene and his sons with the trophy. So I think Bradford City have done really well out of that draw tonight. Because I know, obviously, listening to our friends over at Radio Leeds, they're doing a big build up, and I think they've just about finished now. But yeah, I mean, if you're a Bradford City staff member, player, fan like yourself, Gaz, it's actually quite nice to see your club get recognised on quite a global scale like that.
Yeah, something they can tap into as well. Obviously, the cup run that we had, I think it was 10 years ago. Actually, we had the cup run where we beat Chelsea. Don't feel like 10 years ago, but obviously, time flies quickly. What that was just amazing. One of my best days following City. Obviously, to go down to Chelsea and come back from 2-0 down and beat them 4-2 was just incredible. One of the amazing achievements. Obviously, 2 years earlier, we'd had the run to the cup final and getting promoted, and then managed to do that. The 2 years later, we actually went out to Reading in the quarter final that year. That was a replay. So we were very close to getting through to the semi, but we've got a good history in the competition. So hopefully we can recreate something this year. I just looked it up. Tommy Witherington was Southampton, Grimsby, Port Vale midfielder, current manager at Aldershot. So my mind's still working.
I was going to say, you're just proving there that that your mind works and that you are older than I am. We'll come back to Bradford City in a little bit more detail later on. Whilst we continue with the cup theme, though, Mr. Downs, you've got for me a very probable TV tie: Tamworth away for Huddersfield Town.
Yeah, I've just been trying to Google as Gaz was finishing up his Bradford bit, whether we played Tamworth. It doesn't look like we ever have.
I was about to say, I doubt it.
I'll be honest. Not from records that I can see, unless we've, somebody like Mr. Morris, who's a Town fan. He knows all these sort of statistics. So yeah, it's a good listen. The thing I always think with FA Cup ties is I didn't want anybody in League One. I didn't necessarily want anybody in League Two except for Bradford, if I'm honest. So I just wanted a home tie and somebody in National League or below, if possible, and that's what we've got. So, except for it not being at home. Listen, if we can't go to Tamworth, no disrespect to any Tamworth fan out there that may be watching this.
Brilliant.
There is a set of fans that you don't want to upset. Then
no, I don't want to upset any City fans.
I mean, Stevenage, Lancaster.
I like Doncaster. Anyway, but I didn't say anything about Lancaster. I've never been to the beautiful part of the country. But yeah, in terms of the tie, listen, if we can't go and beat Tamworth in the FA Cup first round, I'd be disappointed. But as we've said with Guiseley and Stevenage, it depends what happens on the day. Look, players can not be up for it, can't they? They think, oh my God, bloody hell, we've got to go to Tamworth. Don't even know where Tamworth is on the map. That sort of
get your atlas out.
No, that's what sort of attitude can happen, can't it? Exactly like when we beat Man United in the Premier League. Man United players didn't know where Huddersfield were, and frankly, they didn't even care, but we still beat them. And that's the same sort of scenario in the FA Cup. But I'm excited the FA Cup's back. Like you tried to tease out of me at the start of this programme, but it didn't really work. Yes, it's the first time in 14 years that we have played in the first round. But I actually prefer the first round to the third round because obviously the non-league sides are in it and you get more interesting draws. The international breaks probably come for us at a bad time, really, because we got two wins against Barnsley. If we could play Barnsley every week, that'd be magical, but we can't. So yeah, there's not really a lot going on with Town at the minute. I'm excited to get back to play Bristol Rovers at the weekend, and hopefully go on and carry on the momentum that we had before the international break. But yeah,
the one unusual thing, though, I guess, that will come from that going to Tamworth, and obviously you won't know well, Lou, is the fact that it's an artificial plastic pitch down at Tamworth as well, and that'll be something new that obviously Huddersfield won't be used to playing on.
No, for me, I think it's a tricky tie for Town, just because Tamworth are on a club that are on the up. A couple of promotions in recent years. Listen, they were in the National League North. I remember going with Avenue for quite a while. They were just a steady mid-table team, bottom mid-table, then they got relegated, and then they've just catapult themselves. Why do I say that? Catapult themselves back up the leagues, and have got now into the National League. And you know what? They're looking really steady. Signed some really strong, stubborn players. Jazz Singh in goal for me is arguably one of the best goalkeepers in that league. And it's not an easy place to go. It really is not an easy place to go. And I think, despite the league difference, and yes, for expectations for Huddersfield Town to win, and they probably would do 8 times out of 10. I think actually, if you do come away with quite a solid victory, it's actually a good win for you.
Yeah.
I think Michael Duff. It's a good test for Michael Duff and his team in terms of character because, yes, we're expected to go, but it's a completely different way of playing. Not used to playing on artificial surface. So all Tamworth have been on it for years now. They've kept a lot of the squad and winning momentum together. So I think it's a real big challenge for Huddersfield. But for me, I think Tamworth, a team that you'd rather play at home than away. And I think if you are a certain TV station looking at this cup draw. It's one that you'll be looking and potentially thinking that could be a possible giant killing. Listen, Huddersfield Town should win, no doubt about it, with the quality of players and what they've got. But the difference with the replay situation is that Huddersfield, they've got to win it on a day now, and it works for Tamworth as well.
Yeah,
you just say tricky tie, wouldn't you? That's how you describe it.
Yeah.
I'm not.
I think.
Listen,
especially
I've not come on.
if that. Sorry, see, I just think I could see that as well. Going on the TV thing, that could very easily end up on either the Friday night or the Monday night of the draw, and have the second round draw being done on the Monday. I think it's a tricky. I mean, James has gone comment. He says, "We don't beat Tamworth. I'll post my season card back, which I got half price." I mean,
James, do it to Sacramento as well. That might be interesting.
I've put that public, James, so that you've got to follow through if you do.
No, stop picking on Town fans. You backed out of having Town's badge on your backside. But yeah, in terms of the artificial pitch, Lou, the only thing that I would say with that is that Town do have the ability, which some football league clubs don't, have the ability to train on an artificial pitch, because we do have one at Canal Side that I think they do have. I don't know what it is at Tamworth, but we have a 3G hyper pitch or whatever, which is like latest state of the art pitch. So
I was just thinking, but this is the problem actually, because what you've got is still actually probably not going to be that much of a. It's not going to be that similar to Tamworth, because if I'm not thinking, Lou, again, correct me if I'm wrong, but they've had that artificial surface for quite a long time. Yeah, so, for example, it's going to play very differently to the artificial surface on a training ground.
Yeah, but it gives them a slight idea and a slight sort of, chance to at least practice on one, because a ball bounces very differently on an artificial surface to what it does on a grass field.
If I'm right in thinking, that's Tamworth's pitch. I mean, Huddersfield will be better training in the car park to get a better idea of what that surface at Tamworth's like. It's flat and solid.
I think. Yeah. I mean, listen. I think it's one which I've said before. Town should be going there and winning 8-9 times out of 10. No question of that. But to Gaz's point, it's a tricky tie, and I get James's sentiment, because, again, League One, challenging for the top of the table against Tamworth, who've only been in what the kind of Northern Premier League, South Central, whatever you want to call it, in recent years. But I wouldn't underestimate Tamworth after watching them for the past 2 or 3 years. They've impressed me a lot and surprised a lot of people. I mean, last year they ran away with that division, and I mean ran away with it, and have gone into the National League very, very steady. So. And I also get the sentiment again, Downsy, where Town have been training on artificial pitches, which is fine, and I get that. And listen, it helps you, but playing on it for 90 minutes and the style of play and the way that whole atmosphere and day is going to be very different. So cup ties, I always say this about cup ties, and it sounds a really boring thing to say. Doesn't matter how you play, just win. Don't matter how you do it. You can have 30 shots to what Lucas said earlier. You can have 30 shots and do the smash and grab. And I think it's the same with Town. You could expect Huddersfield to have a lot of possession, but you know what? If you score 1 goal and they don't score nil, if they don't score any, you're through. That the performance doesn't really matter at all at this stage.
Yeah, Luke, we do shit in cups anyway, so I'm not expecting. I won't be shocked if we. I won't be shocked if we lost, mate. Would not be shocked in the slightest.
But yeah, I think for Town fans, it's one way you'd expect it to win. I think, with again, no disrespect to Aldershot, City have got a favourable tie. Let's be brutally honest about that. Home tie against Aldershot, who were kind of mid-table-ish, bottom mid-table at home. You probably expected to win that. Guiseley have got, on paper, a credible draw. Shame it's not at home, because they'd have probably been on TV. So I think for our teams in general, it's not too bad. It could have been a lot worse. Downsy, you could have been going to Wrexham away, Birmingham away, which would have just stunk the place out. City could have gone and played, Lincoln, for instance, which wouldn't have really favoured any teams. So in the greatest respect, it's not a bad draw for our teams. And I know that we've been posting our socials and we've been speaking to Lucas before, but this is a stage for me where the cup still feels alive. It still feels like it's thriving. I can
when
see.
Does it get dead? When does it
For
die,
me,
Lou?
I don't think. For me, I'm quite nostalgic. I love the FA Cup. I think it starts to lose a little bit the later it goes on. I remember in the times gone by when the FA Cup final was on TV throughout the whole day. It was a big thing. You started it morning coverage and you worked your way from breakfast, lunch, and you watched it at 3:00 on a Saturday. It was a big thing. At this stage, it feels really alive, and I think even the prior rounds to this, in the prelim rounds and the qualifying rounds for non-league clubs, it's massive. Don't underestimate how crucial the FA Cup is for some of those local teams like Guiseley. It's massive, and I cannot stress how big that competition is for guys at this moment in time. And if we get through to this next round, we get probably 20-30 grand potentially, depending on the highlight situation. I might get an extra bit of pocket money in the back pocket as well. I remember being involved at Avenue, and this will haunt a lot of people if you're Avenue fans watching, where we played AFC Tottenham away, and we were both exactly the same division, exactly the same position, same points, same goals. It was really ironic. And we were the lowest ranked team in that competition in the first round. And we knew the winner was pretty much going to be on TV because it was going to be the second round. And we had an absolute stinker. It was just horrific. And I remember being there volunteering for the club at the time, and there was press coming in and were going, "Oh, you're going to be on TV. You're going to be on the second round." And they got Bristol Rovers. They were in front of the cameras on ITV for the following round. And you are thinking that could have been us. And for these clubs at this level, that's where it feels alive, because yes, it is about money, but for the likes of Lucas and the guys at Guiseley, in respect to the guys at Tamworth and Aldershot, this is memories that as a football player you might not get hold of in your whole playing career. You're lucky to probably get to this first round, second round. From a guy's perspective, in 5, 6, 10 years time, this might happen once in a playing career for these players. So the likes of Stevenage have got to be really wary about that. Whereas, because they're used to playing in the first round, it's nothing, not nothing to them. It means something. But for likes of Lucas going there, this means everything to them. That's what they've been working hard for. They've dropped out of academies previously. They've had a chance at EFL football and have not made it either through luck or through injury. Lucas, in his history in the years gone by, was at Leeds United Academy. I remember him time at Leeds when speaking to him as well. He was close to breaking into the first team, got a really bad injury, went to Hull City and was close to making Hull City before he got another injury. Before he's known it, he's playing in a trial game. Nobody knows who he is at camping against Avenue a year and a half later in midfield when he's a right back, because that was the position he could play and he was arguably better than everybody else. So that's football. That's just how it works. And for me, this is where I'm really passionate about the FA Cup, and this is what it means in terms of just doing everything you can do to get to that next round. And you can imagine the likes of potentially guys that go into the third round and they're capable of doing it. So, like we said, it's on the day. They could get, Man City away. I mean, that is just something that could happen. I remember having it in Waterloo. They played Liverpool away. Those are stuff of dreams that can happen.
It makes them hungry. What you've described, it makes them hungry. It's everything to them, and that hunger can take them a long way. Like you said, like you were just talking about the lad who we just had on then. Fantastic to hear his story, really. But he'll be hungry. He'll be really hungry to do well against Stevenage and see how far he can go. Show what he can do.
Yeah.
What you say is exactly true, Lou. And you know what? Like, we speak about all our non-league clubs, but particularly, obviously, because I'm involved with Emley. They played West Ham in the third round of the FA Cup in 1998. Richard Tracy, the Emley manager, played in that game for Emley. And all them players that played against West Ham are still seen as legends 30 years later. I mean, that's how mad that tie was for Emley Football Club. There was like 1,000 people or whatever that went down, like people from Huddersfield who had never seen Emley before, never watched them, and went down to the bowling ground to go and watch them play against West Ham. And if you watch on the highlights, they did bloody well against them. I know that they lost the tie eventually, but they didn't half put a shift in. And it just makes a club like that. I just did want to pull you up on one thing, though. You said that the money means everything to some of these clubs. It does. It don't mean naff all to two of them, Birmingham and Wrexham. But that's all I want to say on that.
I think you were talking about the non-league clubs anyway, to be fair.
No, I know. I just wanted to put it out there.
Want to pick out some of the other ties really that came out of the bowl earlier on that I think we certainly think could be TV picks. And I mean, for me, this is the best round for the TV games as well, actually, because by the time you get to the third round, and there's inevitably a West Ham versus Man United, and that ends up on the bloody telly when it shouldn't do. It's this round for me, TV wise, that makes it some of the other ones that I think are potentially worthy. Loathing, if you agree with me, Worthing over the National League South, they're at home to League Two Morecambe. Boreham Wood of the National League South, they've got League One Leyton Orient at home for an All-London derby there. Sutton United, albeit out of League Two last season, but now in the National League, they have got the money of Birmingham City coming to town. And then Rushall, Olympic or Peterborough Sports, both of the National League North, they'll have a home tie against Accrington Stanley. And then Cheshire United, one of the lowest ranked sides. I had to mention this one, didn't I? But they've got Lincoln at home. There's some really good options, I think, for the likes of, in fact, who's covering now? Is it TNT Sport? Have they got it? Have ITV and BBC? I can't remember who's got all the rights now. I think it seems to be split amongst numerous different stations. But the bottom line is there's some really potentially good ties there when you put in Tamworth and Huddersfield as well.
MK Dons Wimbledon.
I mean, you want MK Dons Wimbledon, and I get the rivalry, but
it will happen, Chris.
From an FA Cup perspective, it's two league. No, it's not that at all. It's just League Two sides. I would rather see that. Wouldn't make my shortlist of like 5 or 6 games to be on the telly. That's what I'm saying. I would rather see all of the ones that I mentioned there instead of MK Dons Wimbledon. I know what you're saying. I know. I agree as well with you, though, that yes, but it'd be dull. Yeah, it's a rivalry. It was during the league a few weeks ago. Who cares? Lou?
Wow.
What a mind drop that was.
I know. To be fair, I'd actually quite enjoy watching it, but that's a different story. I might even go to. I'd love to go to actually watch the actual game itself at Wimbledon.
But it's MK Dons, Lou, so there'll be loads of spare seats.
That's true. It could be there. Yeah, very true. Yeah. Because Ashton Mansfield is one, but yeah, I think from our perspective as football fantasists that we love to see, the non-league team at home against a league team on TV. I think that means everything. So yeah, I mean, there's definitely opportunities there. I think what sometimes gets to me a little bit is some of the coverage that goes about it, where it can be quite condescending to some of the non-league clubs and the players, and you've got a plumber, you've got an electrician, blah 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 blah, whatever. Actually, on that day, for a footballer, yes, they've got another job outside of that, but actually they've earned the right to get there. And it feels sometimes a little bit derogatory to kind of put it in that aspect. And, when you're saying, oh, well, some of these players could put themselves in a shop window. Well, if you kind of know something about the game and being possibly involved in it, then some of these players will already be looked at, will already be known about through different scouting systems, through word of mouth, through all the technology that goes on the database with it. And don't get me wrong, it's an opportunity for somebody to go, this is my day. I can make something of this if I'm on TV. This could be me doing what I love to do.
I guess that's a change in the game, though, isn't it? Because if you actually think back to, for example, when DJ Campbell scored for, I can't remember who it was, but I guess that's actually, you're right. You spot with what you say, but that's where the game has changed, because you go back 10 years. Yeah, that was the case that was putting this in the shop window, where actually now you're right, because of the way football works. A lot of the non-league, certainly the higher non-league divisions, will be covered by EFL clubs from scouting perspectives.
Yeah, and these clubs at EFL level have scouts and people that go and watch these players week in, week out, and know who's available, who's not available. You'll have to look at likes of Peterborough, who recruit in these lower levels and do extremely well. Accrington Stanley have done it in the past very, very well. So some of these players now are probably going to be really well known, or the team that can do the homework a lot quicker. Which has its advantages for EFL clubs. But again, it does come down to that whole thing of on your day. But yeah, I mean, listen, there's an opportunity for people to go and make a hero of themselves, make some memories, and that's what this level is all about. For me, I prefer the first round to the third round. What I get, really excited about it from a third round perspective, if you do have a Premier League team to get a non-league team, that is unreal. I mean, that is
at the non-league round as well.
Well, yeah, and potentially, depending on how it works out, whether they can even host it. I mean, it would be unreal for that to happen. And I mean, it was such a shame in the time during COVID when Marine got Spurs. I mean, that was just, I felt so sick for him. But actually, they worked that so well in terms of their virtual ticket sales that they actually probably did better out of that game during COVID than they would have done at home.
I'm just going to say it. The year before, non-league Lincoln City, we went to Arsenal, and that cup run itself and the money off that, I mean, that paid for our new training ground, basically, that cup run.
I just want to make a point, Lou, and I think you're right, mate, that some of the coverage is condescending, but there is a reason why they cover it that way, because they want to engage with people that are not analytical buffs like some of us are. You know, they sort of want to market the FA Cup at, you know, you sort of floater football fans that don't
100%.
really, you know, the stories, the sort of engagement behind that. You get people that are sit down on a Saturday when they've not really got a lot to do on a rainy afternoon, and they think, I'll stick BBC One on and we'll watch a bit of the footy. You know, I want to see a lower league side try and go up against a giant kind of attitude. So it's all to do with marketing and that sort of thing. That's why they cover it the way they do.
Oh yeah, I get it. I think it's I think because we probably know our stuff as much as we do, I think it just can get a little bit. But no, I think there's some good ties. The magic of a cup for me is still alive at this point. Yes, it has changed a lot over the years, and I would like to see a lot more focus on it. The replay situation, yes, it's a real stinker for some non-league clubs if they don't get like the replays now. But it probably gives them arguably a better chance to go through. But I also, on the flip side of that, think the amount of games that are being played at this moment in time is so close to being on the edge of breaking point. So they've got to find a way of somehow stopping the amount of games. And unfortunately, replays are probably quite an easy target to get rid of in that respect.
It still infuriates me, despite understanding the logic behind it.
I think you've got a good chance of being on telly, Chris. I think Lincoln Chesham, did you say the lowest ranked team in the competition? Lincoln
certainly
Harbury Town are the lowest out there.
Lincoln flying high in League One at the moment. I think that's a decent shout. That. Who did you say, Downsy? Harbury Town?
They're the lowest in the competition. I agree with all you lads. I think we could be a TV show game. Do you think Aldershot Bradford might be one?
Not a chance. No. That's got unmoved Saturday 3 p.m. written all over it. Not even switched to the Sunday for the BBC coverage where they do like live highlights from a few games.
I don't agree with the Monday night game though, because
I do, because that's when they do the draw.
No, because it treats fans like. Do you know what I mean? If you're a fan from, I'm not saying Carlisle's going to be on the TV, but if you're a Carlisle fan and you've got to travel, you know, God knows wherever on a Monday night, it's crap for fans, isn't it?
It's the same as a Friday night, though. It's still a midweek night, and to be honest, I think it's better. I think that in this case, there's exceptions that can be made. I appreciate look. Honestly, this season we've seen some of the crappiest like fixtures move to random nights for TV purposes. Like I can't remember what it was, but like Notts County Grimsby, but ended up on a Thursday night because it was on Sky because of this Sky Plus deal. But actually, with the FA Cup, I don't think there's anything wrong with it. I really don't, because ultimately, if they're only moved because it's a good time, because an underdog story, and actually, the non-league club benefits from that. In most cases, anyway, it's a non-league club that is on the Friday or the Monday night, and they're the ones that benefit from the TV money. And if you're a fan of a league club and you're going to travel to that non-league club, then you're going to do it anyway. If you're not, then you're going to sit home and watch on the telly. So I really don't think that in the FA Cup terms it makes any impact. And if Carlisle were to travel to, I don't know, some southwest town that's got a non-league club, then that's all better for the non-league club.
That's fine. We get that you can't give a crap about the fans, but at least the rest of us, 75% of the podcast do. It's fine, Chris. You're all about the money, mate.
I think Lou and Gaz will be fully on my corner with this one. To be honest, they are logical. I don't think they will be. All right then, Gaz, Lou, what's your take on that then?
Go on, Gaz.
Well, I don't like games being moved for telly, but I kind of see Chris's point about it being a one-off with it being a non-league club. To be honest, I'm on the fence. I can see both sides of it, as I often am. I've got splinters in my arse again.
Lou? With your non-league hat on?
Please, Lou, please.
I think the football fan sometimes doesn't get considered in this anyway, does it? But if it was my club, I wouldn't be bothered when I played because I'm in that draw.
There we go. That'll do. That'll do nicely. Let's turn our attentions then to the rest of our non-league scene that hasn't all been in FA Cup action over the course of the weekend, although actually there was a couple of sides there that exited the competition. Lou, I'll just bring this up for us now, and we'll start with the FA Cup games. Obviously, Farnsley Kettering, that was a game that was played at Guiseley Nethermore Park.
Yeah, and it was a sickener, really. Kettering Town, real sickener for them to lose that 2-1. Really late goal. But yeah, it's a shame because Farnsley, would have really benefited out of that, and it's a bit of a surprise that unfortunately they lost. But listen, they got the job done. I listened to Pav Singh's interview after the game, and he was, complimentary of Kettering, and they've just got the job done. Kettering Town have, been quite synonymous with non-league as well. So listen, they've got in the hat, they've done the job and got the victory.
Yeah, as for Halifax, it was an action-packed game at Boundary Park, to say the least, but not one that the Shaman fans will look back on with any great pleasure. I mean, look, we were talking to Dave Foy in the group chat earlier, Lou, and I'm sure you'll be able to remember it and pull it out better than I can. Halifax Town and the FA Cup, in whichever format, the original club or the current club, the FA Cup just does not sit well for them.
No, it's one of those, and I'm going to use that classic journalistic word of hoodoo, where there seems to be some clubs and competitions that just don't go well together, and it seems to be, I see Halifax just don't have that relationship with the FA Cup at all. I mean, Dave, we're on it as one on Saturday, just like we just don't get the cup. The cup isn't for us. Listening and I was speaking to him earlier, obviously, like we all were, and he said it feels as if it's quite irrelevant to him. His fact was he's only ever beaten one Football League side since August 2008. That was Morecambe in the first round under Jamie Fullerton. It's now 37 years since they made a third round proper. To be in the draw, and that was the second round replay. So listen, they've just somehow just not got it for whatever reason. And I think being 3-0 down and then 4-1 down at half time is such a blow. It's such a difficult situation to come back from. And in some respects, it's different for probably clubs at a lower level. But for Halifax, I think they'll be gutty about that because Halifax have been really, really strong in likes of the FA Trophy and stuff and done really well in the league and have probably wanted a really good FA Cup run. But unfortunately, it's not meant to be. Listen, it's not an easy tie to go to Oldham. It really isn't.
No.
But it's one of those where I think they'll be looking back at that thinking, what if?
Yeah, absolutely. Let's just turn our attentions then. Northwest Counties League. Barlick Town with a good win away at Stockport Town. In the Northwest Counties First Division North, not a particularly good weekend for the residents at Marley Park, Lou. Heavy defeats for both Route 1 Rovers and for Steeton.
Yeah, massive losses for both teams. And, I think Roy Mason and the team there will be really disappointed with that loss. And look, Nelson, for me, have recruited so well. Billy Priestley being there as captain, they should probably fly out that league quite comfortably. But Barlick have got a decent victory at Stockport Town. So, yeah, mixed fortunes.
Absolutely. Into the Northern Counties east side of the hats, of the pyramid rather, and some standout results in the NCL Prem, especially. Campion with a good win at Tadcaster, Silsden with a late win over Golka, and Albion Sports again scoring goals on the road, Luke, this time away at Pickering Town.
Yeah, some big results. Teams starting to just find a feet a little bit more. Albion Sports are just doing so well. Said this last week and a week before that, they're just flying at the moment. I know Pickering had, kind of mid-table-ish, done better than what they did last season, but 4-1's, really good victory. And again, we've said it in recent weeks, Albion, Golka, Silsden, Fackley, all in the top 6, top 5 or 6, which is really good to see. But what I want to say as well is on quite a somber note, we lost a real dear friend. Well, it was a friend of mine, especially at Campion. Dave Kegsy Keegan, unfortunately, passed away in the weekend, which was just devastating. For those that knew, Kegsy was secretary at Campion. He was one of the people that you associate with that club. And I actually spoke to Kegsy a week or two ago, and he was really fed up of him still being in hospital, and he was struggling, but he was determined to get better, and unfortunately it's just not worked out. But from us, just want to say thoughts are with his family and friends, and I know Campion and Ecclesdale are holding a 1 minute silence ahead of their game tomorrow night, and hopefully people do turn up for that, because I know Kegsy adored Campion. He was a massive Bradford City fan as well. He used to go home, and especially on away day, so people who knew Kegsy from City fans as well. So yeah, I mean, it's devastating for our non-league scene, and I know you can only see the tributes on social media for how popular he was. And my thoughts definitely were Campion, because that's such a sad loss. And hopefully, listen, it's one of those really weird situations where something like that could just really galvanise the club, and they could do it in his honour, and get out of that league that they've been trying to do for the past 2-3 years, and just a really sad loss.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I thought certainly with his friends and family at this time, and as you mentioned, Lou, with that minute silence, a Bradford derby actually tomorrow night between Campion and Ecclesdale United. It seems a fitting game to be able to for people to go and pay their respects.
Yeah, and like I said earlier, you only have to look at the clubs and the messages that came through on the day that it got announced that he passed away. And listen, he loved the club, and I know he suffered with a bit of ill health after his retirement, which again was such a shame. But he loved nothing more than just watching a game of football and enjoying it. With a pint of beer and just chatting just about football, about life in general. And it seems really fitting that it's a bit of a local game. People hopefully get down and support Campion and Ecclesdale, because it's going to be a tough night. It really is going to be a tough night for both clubs, especially Campion. But listen, can't obviously speak for him, but I'm pretty sure that he just wants to watch football, and I'm pretty sure he'll be watching tomorrow night from somewhere.
Yeah, absolutely. Just reflecting on the final kind of games from the weekend and only seen in the NCL Division 1. I mean, look, there's only really kind of one place to start, and that is, depending on which persuasion you are, either a heavy defeat or a fantastic victory. Wakefield 8, Yorkshire Amateur 0. And look, we've talked about the problems that Yorkshire Amateur have had, despite go back a few years, and they were pushing to kind of get into the Northern Premier League leagues. And obviously times have been hard for Yorkshire Amateur in recent seasons. But, for Wakefield, I mean, that is a way to continue a little bit of an upturn in form.
Yeah, massive. And listen, I know that obviously we lost a manager as well at Wakefield. They were expecting to do really well at the beginning of the season. They had quite a tricky start, and obviously they've made changes. They've again recruited really well. Likes of Akil Francis, Slater Barnes has come back from Golka in the recent weeks. So, I mean, obviously you feel for the Yorkshire Amateur, going through a really tough time at the moment. But also on the reverse side of that, it's good to see Wakefield just starting to get a few wins under the belt, because they are quite a big club. Listen, they've got a lot of catching up to do for the likes of Horbury and Ilkley as well up there. So you'd expect Wakefield to come good now. Probably a bit of a change of voice, just a change of personnel might just help them through that. And it's going to be an interesting time. But again, I keep saying it, Horbury are absolutely flying. I mean, go to Johnfield Town, 3-2 victors. Listen, I know Johnfield have been struggling in recent weeks, but Horbury to go there and still win away from home in terrible conditions is really encouraging to see. And the big thing about Horbury is that they just score goals. They've just got so much firepower up top. So again, I keep saying it, they're the team to watch for me in that division.
Yeah, James Cudworth, I think in particular, has been a man on form, hasn't he, Lou?
Yeah, it's signed for us, ironically, in pre-season. I know he's been looked at by quite a few teams, but came back to Horbury. So he's been scoring goals. There's the likes of Jibble Brojang as well in there. So they've just got goal scorers of Horbury. Recent weeks, Samuel Kameya's got a few goals as well. So yeah, one to watch out for.
Yeah, and actually that segues us quite nicely actually into the importance of strikers, which leads us on to Bradford City and back to Gaz, and the importance in particular of a certain Andy Cook.
You can't really say any more than that, Chris. He's vital. We're a bit over reliant on him at times, I think. But there are ways that we couldn't be, which I have strong opinions on. But yeah, absolutely fantastic. The only thing, I think he's gone to equal 5th now in our all-time scorers list. I think I had it up on my phone a minute ago. I think there's 3 or 4 others that have also scored 79 goals for us. He's with Joe Cook, Sean McCarthy, John Hallows, 79 goals for the club. So 1 more and he's in 5th on his own. Another 8 and he equals Dean Windass, so 9 to go past him.
Wow.
So that, yeah, you'd imagine, well, you'd hope injury permitting, he goes to 4th this season, and then there's just James Hansen and Frank O'Rourke, who he should go past next season. He's got another year at City on his deal, so injury permitting, you'd imagine he'll be 2nd on the all-time scorers list over the next couple of years. Just phenomenal, absolutely phenomenal. How he's managed to do it at so many different clubs, and probably, you'd argue, could have played higher than League Two, really, throughout his career. I think he had a little bit of time in League One with Walsall. He's just, the fans love him. He loves it at City. He's just been absolutely fantastic. Scores all sorts of goals. Fantastic header of the ball. I don't know if you saw his goal against Newport on Monday, but it's just an unbelievable header, really, with the defender all over him. Like he just managed to lean back and steer it into the top corner. Then he goes 1-on-1 on Saturday and slides it past Luke McGee. It just scores all sorts of different goals. There is the argument that we're over-reliant on him. Personally, I think we aren't as over-reliant on him when Bobby Poynton plays. There's an argument that's being fielded by a lot of City fans at the moment, or being put out there by a lot of City fans at the moment, that Bobby Poynton's better when he comes off the bench than he is when he starts. Personally, I think that's absolute nonsense. Bobby Poynton had his best run in the team when City had their best run of form towards the end of last season, when we won 7 out of 8 or 8 out of 9. Him and Jamie Walker were starting as the 2-8s in a 3-5-2, and we were fantastic, and we were a goal threat from all over the pitch, not just Andy Cook. And I was more confident going into this season of us as a goal-scoring threat than I had been for a long time, and that was mainly because Poynton and Walker as the 2-8s supporting Cook meant that we had a goal threat from midfield. Alarmingly, Poynton and Cook haven't started together as 2-8s in a 3-5-2 yet this season. Bobby Poynton started 4 games this season. Only once in a 3-5-2 as he started. The rest of the times he's played as a winger in a 4-4-2. That's what his starts have been. He ain't a winger. The problem isn't about him coming on off the bench or starting. The problem is where you play him. You play him as in a 3-5-2 as an attacking 8, and he's fantastic. I'd also like to add that he's only once started with Jamie Walker, and that was in one of those games when he played as a winger in a 4-4-2, and Jamie Walker played as a winger as well, and he ain't a winger. For me, you've got to play those 2 as the 8s, and they will take the burden off Andy Cook, and we look much more of an attacking threat when we have Bobby Poynton and Jamie Walker as the 2 starting 8s. Mainly, I think a lot of it from Bobby's point of view is he links up really well with Tyreek Wright. You get the better out of Tyreek Wright when Bobby Poynton plays. He links up better with him, and he links up better with Callum Kavanagh, who has also struggled for form this season, but looks to be finding his way a little bit. But had quite a good game on Saturday at Tranmere next to Cook. Hasn't scored yet, but I think they'll come. And again, I think Bobby helps him. He helps Tyreek. This is nothing against Clark Oduor, who Graham Alexander is a big fan of, and he's playing instead of Bobby or starting instead of Bobby at the moment, but they bring different things to the team. Clark Oduor had a good game on Saturday, controlling the midfield next to Richie Smallwood. I just feel that Bobby plays further forward, links up better with Tyreek, links up better with Callum Kavanagh, and particularly in home games, I would like to see him and Jamie start. Like I said, the issue hasn't been that he's been starting. The issue has been that he's been playing in a 4-4-2 when he started. You start him as 2 8s, and we will take the burden off Cook, and we will be more of an attacking threat. We will score more goals. But yeah, Andy Cook, phenomenal. You just start a superlatives for him at City. Unbelievable. I know so many teams. I speak to fans of other teams who just love to have him in their side. And I'm sure that, any team in League Two would, some teams in League One would. Phenomenal. What a player.
We'll continue with Bradford in a second. I just want to bring in, whilst we get the chance, a late addition to the squad, a late call-up for Stephen Brownie Brown. How are we, mate? You all right?
Yeah, good, mate. Good. Impact sub from the end. Come on.
Yes. I mean, just before we come on to Leeds, Gaz, obviously you talk about for Andy Cook. how big a loss, and this is just the obvious question if ever I've seen it, how big a loss would Andy Cook be if he were to get injured at any point this season? Just where would that leave you, do you think?
Yeah, it's something I don't really like thinking about, to be honest. There was a point a couple of years ago when Hughes was manager, the year we got to the playoffs, where he rested Cook around Christmas time, took him out of the team. Fans were a little bit like, what are you doing? That was the year he got 30 goals in League Two. Fans were a little bit like, why have you done that? But it paid off towards the end of the season because it allowed him a little bit of a refresh. Probably the rest that he needed, and he came back firing after Christmas and obviously got those goals that got us into the playoffs. When that happened, Verdane Oliver was the player who came in for him, and the form was pretty decent. We managed to cope okay without him, but that was for a short period of time. I would dread to think what would happen if he was out of the side for any prolonged period, and you've just got to hope that, he's 34 this year. I think he's 34 this month, actually. He's not getting any younger. We've got to protect him as much as we can. The role that he plays, he's obviously target man type player, big striker up front, takes a battering in a lot of games. So, yeah, there are times when I think that we should be probably subbing him off late in games, particularly if the job's done, and bringing Verdane on just to protect him where we can, because it's absolutely vital. And as we often say, how important having a striker like that is to any team. It's probably just a crying shame, really, and probably a telling of City that we've not got promoted while he's been in the side yet, because a team with a 30-goal a season striker would expect to be promoted, and that's the thing that's missing from his CV. So hopefully over the next 2 years, while he's definitely still here, we can protect him enough and we can get enough out of the rest of the team to get us over the line and get us up into League One, because he deserves it as much as anybody else, if not more than anybody else.
Yeah, what is he now? 33?
34.
You dropped off there, Chris. He's 34 this month, I think. Turns 34 this month. So he's got another year left after this, as it stands.
We had the same thing with Jordan Rhodes all them years ago, Gaz, where he was so vital to the team that luckily, thank God, touch wood, he never got injured, and therefore he scored 40 goals in one season, and he actively, got us promoted, because without them goals, we wouldn't have got there, So I think, when you've got a firing striker like Andy Cook, it just helps your team massively, and also it gives every other player on the pitch, confidence that if you are having a bad game, or Andy might chip in with a goal, he'll score something, he'll make something happen. I watched the game, Gaz, just from my point of view. I watched the entire game, and I thought Adore was the best player on the pitch for City. I thought he had a great game. I thought if I had to pick out a player that didn't have a great game, I'd say Halliday. I don't think he was amazing, if I'm honest. I thought, at times they got round him too easily. But I did think you were the much better team than Tranmere. I have to be honest. I thought you tried to create, bits, and I thought they were a bit poor, if I'm honest. That surprised me how poor they were.
It's interesting you should say that, Downsy, because that's why I wanted to point out about Clark Oduor, because as much as I think Bobby and Jamie should be starting, Clark Oduor were really good on Saturday. Totally agree. He was probably our best player. Just on Halliday, Brad Halliday is a right back, and because of all our injuries so far this season, and on Saturday, Neil Byrne was named in the starting lineup and then pulled out because he was ill in the warm-up. Brad Halliday came into the team, and it was his first game for a while, probably for a few weeks, because he's lost his place at right back to Jay Ben, who we've got on loan from Lincoln. But Brad Halliday played as a right-hand-sided centre-half on Saturday, which isn't his position, and came in and played because obviously we had to make that late change because of Neil Byrne's illness. So, I thought he did well to say he was playing out of position, but I know exactly why you probably saw what you saw in him.
Just a couple of times they just got round him on the outside, and he kind of just stopped us. Like, once they got round him, that were kind of it. But I think for just going back to Adore, I think he, every time he got the ball, he wanted to create something. He wanted to get round a man, wanted to, create little 1-2s, and I was really impressed by him. I thought he were for someone I've not really had a lot of time to watch before. I think he's definitely one of the players that looked really good.
He's
I think
split.
Ian
really
makes
sorry,
a fair
I
point
can't
here,
have
Gaz.
any-
Sorry, Lo.
Sorry, I was just going to say, I'm sorry, I can't offer any opinion on Bradford City because, talking of burn, I was burning in Gran Canaria, 32 degrees. Thank you, boys.
Jealous.
So after that, Lou, analysis.
No worries. Thank
Gaz,
you.
Ian making a fair point here, given the defensive situation that you found yourselves in over the last few weeks.
Yeah, he's absolutely spot on. I've stuck up for Alexander, as you know, on this pod. What I will say is that we obviously I've talked about all the issues that we've had at centre back. We've got 5 centre backs on the books, and 3 of them have been injured for the last month. We are slowly starting to get players back now, and we've brought Paul Huntington in on a free as a late addition. He's not actually played yet, but he will provide cover for us in that area if we were to pick up injuries again. The issue have been amplified by us going or being forced to change from that 3-5-2 to the 4-4-2 that I mentioned earlier, that we're just not used to playing, and we've had to do it because we've only had 2 fit centre halves, and that's meant the attacking midfielders playing out of position as wingers, and we've really struggled. What's interesting is that on Saturday, Brad Halliday came in and played as a right-hand sided centre half, which makes you think, could we have been doing that for the last month? When we've been going to 4-4-2 and Brad's been sitting there on the bench. What made Graham Alexander decide to try it on Saturday? Try right back at right-hand sided centre half. It makes you wonder, could we have been doing that all along? But yeah, hopefully we are at the back end of it now. Like I say, Burns over his injury, he was ill on Saturday, so hopefully he's over that again for the weekend. I don't think that Aidan Baldwin's far away. Paul Huntington's now in the mix. So hopefully we can stick with 3-5-2 going forward. Obviously, Brad Halliday's shown that he can play that right-hand sided centre-back role, and we won't have to go to 4-4-2 again, and we can look up rather than being worried about our form. We need to kick on now. We're 3 points off the top of the league. I'm going to go back and say what I've said a few times. If we'd have that ball crossed the line against Salford, that's 2 points. We'd be in the top 3 now. We'd be in the top 3 if that decision's been, if the linesman sees it's a mile over the line. But yeah, we've come out of a sticky patch and won our last 2 games, and we need to kick on. And we've got Gillingham at home on Saturday, which will be tough. And then we've got Cheltenham away midweek, and we've got Doncaster at home the following Saturday. So we've got 2 big home games, which will probably tell us a lot about where we're at, Gillingham and Donny.
Absolutely. Brownie, we'll bring you in. Obviously, a late arrival, as we said, but just on that thing about the importance of strikers, how important is Joel Pirro to the Leeds team?
He's proving very, very important at the minute, despite some reservations about him, particularly last season. He's banging them in this season. I think his goals per minute ratio is I think it might be the best in the entire country. I think he's been absolutely phenomenal. He's gone up a level. It looks like he wants that number 9 shirt back. He wants that starting place back, and long may it continue.
And who the hell saw that coming after last season when Joel Pirro, for all his prowess the season before and how revered he was across the Championship prior to that, last season. I mean, actually, to be fair to him, he still 14 last season, which isn't exactly a bad return. It's just not what he'd done elsewhere previously. But as you say, this season, it is actually looking like fitting in a bit better. The system seems to be working more for him than it was before.
Yeah, I think he's got a little bit less pressure this season. I think last season he was the big signing of the summer. He was the man who was meant to bang the goals in and get us promoted. And kind of as the season went on, his kind of role in the team diminished to the point where he got replaced by Patrick Bamford, who came in and did well. And it kind of changed the dynamic of the team. And yeah, Matteo Joseph obviously has risen to prominence. He started the season with the shirt, but hasn't been putting the ball in the back of the net, like what Gaz is saying about Andy Cook there. You need that guy who's going to get them goals for you. And to be honest, Pirro looks like possibly the only one in the Leeds shirt who you can bet money on to put the ball in the back of the net compared to some of the other guys. We are wasteful. We're a wasteful team. So we need someone with a bit of cutting edge, but the problem's been fitting him into the Farker system. But hopefully, signs are good. Hopefully, this can be his season. But it's a good battle, him and Joseph for the for the number 9 place. And it keeps each other motivated, so it can only be a benefit to us in the long run.
Winning the league, then, Brownie. Back to winning the league again this week, are we? Mesley is not a hologram this week. So
I've not forgotten about that.
In the bag.
I've not forgotten about that. I mean, to be fair, because normally I absolutely detest international breaks, and I've got to admit, this Saturday I was didn't really know what to do with myself. I was like, where's my Premier League football? Where's my Championship football? But I was kind of, after what happened against Sunderland, it was kind of, yeah, I don't know. I was in two minds. I was thinking it's nice to have a break, but then on the other hand, you want to get the next game done, so you put that behind you. It's typical of Leeds. I mean, we're coming back now from an international break, and we've got another really tough fixture on the Friday. We've got players who are going to be coming back Wednesday morning. Brendan Aronson, one of our key players, is due back at Thorpe Arch Wednesday morning. So, I mean, in terms of preparation time, and well, this is a thing, and this is the frustrating thing. You know, this seems to happen every time there's an international break. It takes that game back from the international break to kind of get going again. But the problem is we're playing Sheffield United this week. So it's a huge problem. Obviously, you know, heartbreaking news what happened, you know, in terms of George Baldock, and you know, it's going to be emotionally charged. You know, it's their former player, and it's something tragic. So you know, there is going to be that emotion in the game as well, and there's no love lost between Leeds and Sheffield United. Chris Wilder element there as well. Anything could happen. I'm glad it's at Ellen Road. Thank God it's at home. I hated to have gone to Bramall Lane on a Friday night back of an international break.
Tune in Leeds fans to Monday's show when you see Brownie and Jay saying that Leeds are going to get relegated.
That'll be tomorrow, Steve.
Tomorrow
after the game. Yeah, tomorrow. No, I mean, in terms of winning the league, the thing with Leeds is our biggest opponent is ourselves, really. I mean, we've got the squad, we've got the manager, we've got everything set up in place, but then, you know, two horrendous injuries to your two starting central midfielders, these bloody international breaks where it just knocks us out of our rhythm every time we get one. And just little things like that just seem to always kind of come along and just sabotage us.
You can look forward to another one of those in November as well, mate.
Please do the cool runnings.
It is ridiculous, honestly. It's absolutely ridiculous. I can't stand it. Just end the international breaks, for God's sake.
It's definitely one for us to talk about, though, in terms of the amount of games. I mean, I know it's obviously not time right now, but like in November, the international break is something we can discuss with people, because the amount of games that is happening now, even though we love the game, it's actually getting a bit out of control for me now.
Well, there would have been. I was hearing it. They were talking about the England game, and someone, you know, I mean, I watched a little bit of both games, but then someone was saying, "Oh, this is to, you know, so England are in the promotion place or something, you know, for this Nation League's crap." And I'm listening to it, going, "What? Like, what is this Nation?
The promotion race, love it."
Yeah, I'm just like, no, I honestly, I just can't be bothered with it. And yeah, you're right, Lou. I mean, it's a massive problem in the game. The amount of games that are happening, there's potential player strikes, all sorts of things that are happening. Everybody throws in the face, look, you earn a load of money. You should, you know, play every day of the week if need be. I don't think it's that straightforward, though. And I want to see players at their best. If they're having to play so many games, are they playing at their best? No. Is it? Well, is it as an entertaining tournament if they're knackered players? No, it's not. I mean, Champions League now is going on till January.
I agree, Brownie, but I also think it's now got to the point with, like, I mean, you guys knew my comments on the recent tournament. Like, I thought the quality was poor. I thought it was a poor tournament in terms of football ability, and we've seen like it's a rugby union now where players are being limited to a certain amount of games just because of the strain it's taking on the bodies, the health and well-being and all that comes to it. And like you said, Brianna, we want to see the best of the best. And at the moment, I'm not too sure whether we're getting that product. And the amount of money that's in the game, you've got to have a good product to get your money's worth. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, it's definitely a topic we need to discuss, because it's affecting our teams at our levels as well. We talk about non-league, we talk about our teams, you know, yourselves at Leeds, City, Huddersfield, Halifax, we're all going through the same. You might not be in the Champions League, but you're still having to play Saturday, Tuesday, cup games, replays, postponements crammed in. So sometimes teams have got to play 3-4 times in a week. It's madness. It's madness now.
Well, that's where I agree. That's where I agree and I disagree, Lou, because you know non-league better than anybody, right? And that's where I disagree about the top players going on strike. some of these lads in non-league, I know we said about the cringe of the FA Cup and how it's described, but some of them are going and working 7-8 hour shifts, then getting home, getting dressed, going to play football on a Tuesday night, Saturday, whatever. You know, the amount of games that are played in non-league is disgusting compared to what EFL and Premier League clubs have to play. So I get it. I get the argument. I get the argument, but I don't get it. I just compared to what some of these lads playing, you know, Pep Guardiola and that don't have a leg to stand on for me.
Let's move it to next week. Let's move that to next week.
I mean, I know I'm going to complain that I was digressing here, but Danny makes a point because you know what? The players that do play in the National League North and the National Prem and the leagues below that have away games in Cumbria when they live in, like, you know, take Oxford City as an example. If they have an away game at like Spennymoor or something, the players just get on with it. They do it. They deal with it. And for me, that is such a big thing compared to your Premier League players with the recuperation. But as Lou says, that is a topic for a future week and probably the next.
Yeah, I will just say that the commitment of people affiliated with non-league, I'm talking fans, volunteers, players, everybody, it's phenomenal. I mean, that's just the love of the game, isn't it? You know, that's the game at its best.
It's not for the money, Brown, is it?
Exactly. You know, and it's amazing, absolutely amazing.
I think Brownie hit the nail on the head before when you just said it's not that simple. There's so many strands to this argument, and it is a debate to have probably for a large part of another show because there are so many strands and so many different angles to come at with this argument. I think it's an important one to have at some point.
Let's do it next week. You're right, guys. Let's do it next week after this weekend's games because we'll see what the effect of the international break has had some of our EFL teams.
It can either be next week or the next international break. The next international break could. But anyway, let's kind of move on and kind of finalise things, Brownie, with you and for Leeds United. I mean, again, it was going to be a topic of signing free agents during the season. It obviously applies to Huddersfield with Freya Ladipo. It applies to Bradford with Corey Evans and Paul Huntington. It looks like it may well be applying to Leeds United fairly soon. Or not. I have seen rumours that it might have fallen through. Cheikhou Kouyaté, vastly experienced central midfielder. Obviously, Leeds struggling in that particular area with injuries. What's your take on the situation? And obviously, Kouyaté, whether it's going to get over the line or not.
Yeah, it's rumbling on for a bit too long, isn't it? I think apparently the rumours he's been there for a week. So God knows what's going on. They must have had a good look at him. It's quite a big decision, obviously, because you know we've got a couple of players out in that position. We are short in central midfield, but it's just a risk of upsetting the squad, isn't it? And Farke doesn't like this kind of thing. But we are pretty desperate. I mean, he's vastly experienced, 34. You know, he's played at Premier League level.
He's not.
It seems worth it to
injuries.
me.
He's not suffered with injuries either, has he? At previous clubs, no. He's been able to see out seasons primarily.
It seems for me, it's one of those where you just get it done because we've been punished before for not pulling the trigger on deals and thinking, "Oh, we'll be okay," and then it backfiring. I think there's a little bit of a theme this season with injuries. I think you know we've probably had more injuries this season than we did last season in total. So for me, you get it done. I think he can even play at centre back, can't he, as well? So you know he's gonna be able to do that role. I've signed him on Football Manager tons of times, and he does a job everywhere. To be honest, I've played him left back, right back, all sorts when I've needed to. So you know he can come in and he can do a job. And I think, look, you know, we know the pressure on this season, the fact that we need to get promoted. Just get it done and look, you know, shore them numbers up. You know, take the pressure off because if Tanaka or Rothwell get injured, suspended, we have no one else to come in. You know, you're looking at Charlie Crew then, who's completely unproven at this level. As fantastic prospect as he is, it's a lot of pressure putting on his shoulder. Why not get some Premier League experience in there who's not going to be overawed by the situation potentially as well?
He's no Matt Smith. I just want to put it out there, though. He's no Matt Smith.
Wrong position. And to be fair, you
well done, Chris.
No with Charlie
Crew. Well done.
With Charlie Crew, in that he is as good a talent as he is, you almost find you, or potentially, if injuries dictate, find yourself back in with the Archie Gray thing, I guess, of having to play the youngster in there if you don't get Kouyaté over the line.
Yeah, Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and it's a risk now. I think a lot of people will say he's good enough to come in, but I don't know. It's too big of a risk for me in a season like this. I mean, there's even rumours of us getting Darko JB back on from his loan at Plymouth in January because he's suddenly hit the ground running. He looks to be flourishing a bit this season. I think he got a goal for the England under-21s at the weekend, and he scored. He assisted one for Plymouth last weekend, which was really good. So yeah, Rooney might have done us a favour there. He's doing all right, isn't he, our Wayne?
Yeah, the form has picked up as I
Yeah.
predicted. As I predicted.
And then he's straight on the overlap. Do you notice that? As soon as he has a couple of good results, he's straight on the overlap.
Talking about
Great
99
manager, isn't he?
United.
Yeah. Oh my God.
We just
No,
need to
that's
name
one thing
that
Rooney
goal,
can't
Man
talk about, to
United
be
lot.
fair. That is one thing Rooney can't talk about. Let's leave it there. Brownie, are you back with Jay tomorrow night, I'm led to believe?
Yes. Me and Jay, we will be back tomorrow, probably about 8:15 start. So we're going to get into it. We've not been on stream for a couple of weeks, obviously, with the break. So it'll be good to jump on with Mr. Booker, chew the fat, get into things in a bit more detail about Leeds United. So please do join us then.
Downsy, any plans for a Huddersfield show this week?
Possibly. I haven't spoke to my town brethren this week to see when they are available. So keep tuned, and I'm sure
You need
we'll
that
try and
haircut, man.
it going.
Get that haircut on another stream. Come on, lad.
Oh well,
You're sharp, mate. Been to dog
at least I've
groomers.
got more hair than Jay Anna. You know what I mean?
The dog groomers. I heard that, even if he didn't.
No, I heard it. I just didn't choose to respond.
You just didn't acknowledge it. Fair enough.
Not from you. Definitely not.
Well, before
Lou's
this,
got a lasagna in the oven. Come on, lads. We
before
need to
this
know now.
descends into
Sorry, I'll
chaos
shut up
and
then.
all-out war, I think he wishes he did. Before this ends in tears for somebody, we'll wrap it up there. Big thank you to everyone who's commented and joined us on the stream over the course of the evening. Big thank you to Lucas and Dunstan as well, guys, the defender, who joined us right at the start of the show to talk about their FA Cup run in the season so far and the fact that they've got Stevenage away in the first round of the FA Cup, while Huddersfield go to Tamworth and Bradford have a home tie against National League side Aldershot Town. Do keep an eye on social media. Do keep it on social media, on Facebook, on X as well. That's the best place to see where our next streams will be. Brownie and Jay will be with you tomorrow night. Damsey might turn up and do one later in the week. But from myself and from Lewis, from Brownie, Gaz, and Downsy, thanks for joining us tonight. Enjoy the rest of your evening, and we'll see you soon here on the West Yorkshire Football Show.